Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 321 of a year of change. Today, I want to sort of bring up something. I've been debating whether or not to actually bring this up because it's something that I read yesterday and it's discouraging, and the last thing that I want to do right now is add more discouragement to stuff, but sharing back and forth is kind of what we've tried to do through this whole thing, so it may seem discouraging at first, but it'll come out on top. Basically what it was, I started looking at, because we sort of talked yesterday, aside from the program that the YMCA has going, in general, I'm not a big, hey, let's all go to the gym kind of person. There are a number of different reasons for it. Number one, obviously, cost. We want to do something that we're going to be able to do forever. And, sometimes we simply just can't afford to shell out, $75 or $100 a month or whatever for a gym membership. Time investment, of course, is a part of it. But for me, the big thing is just the self-consciousness. That paranoia that we all have. We're very, very self-aware. We know what our surroundings are. We know everything going on around us, mainly just because we're hyper alert for a lot of these things. And I think for a lot of people, it's the same. There's that feeling, if I join a gym, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to be staring at me and watching and everything else, which is going to relate to what I'm going to talk about in a second. So I wanted to sort of look at things and try to get some advice from people that went to a gym when they were super obese. I was classified as that when I first started. I wanted to look at stuff that I would have been able to do when I was 325 pounds. And, there are different exercises for different people. You're going to find, whatever it is that you've decided to sort of settle on is the exercise that is going to be your thing for the next little while. It's going to be different for everybody. For me, when years ago, I used to live right in the heart of the city. So late at night, friends and I would just go for walks for hours and hours and hours, even though I was really, really fat, and go for a coffee and just sort of talk about a little bit of everything. Those pretentious talks where you can solve all the world's problems and everyone thinks that you're really deep, and you're not. You're just a douchebag. I would have those conversations. So there's that, sort of nostalgic portion of it that, I kind of like this. This is what I used to do all the time. So I think that's where that walking comes from. Plus, it's the easiest thing for me to do. I don't have access to, a lot of gym equipment or a pool or, all the other stuff. I don't want to be around people. I don't want them to see me, stuff like that. So that's what I chose. That's what I've really been focusing on. For other people, it's going to be something different. If you have a pool, if you have access to a pool, is different than if you have a pool. If you have a pool, and, by far, I would much rather be doing that. If I had a pool, if I had the money to have my own pool, that's what I'd be doing. But, again, if you have access to a pool, that's about the most terrifying thing that I can think of. Even at the weight I'm at now, even when I'm probably down to the 175 where I'm trying to get to, until I get, things where they need to be, the thought of going out in public without a shirt on is just terrifying. It really just gets you, everything tightens up and you get all stressed out. So I can't imagine doing something like that. Even going to a public place, even now, going to a gym to use a treadmill, just because I know the condition I'm in afterwards, I'm all sweaty and gross and everything else. Even that, I can't imagine doing it. But I wanted to see stuff that, people could do. And we're very limited as to what we can do. Not just because of our physical activity. We can't really start out by jogging right away. We can't start out by doing a whole bunch of, weightlifting. Even something as simple as a sit-up or a push-up. I still can't do a sit-up or a push-up. But just physically, not being able to do that, because of your muscles is one thing. That's the main problem. But even if I could do a sit-up, I can't do a normal one. Because if you're like me, a lot of my weight was pretty well distributed everywhere, but we all have a great big belly. So you can't have your knees meet your chin. It's something, you can't do it. So usually when you do a sit-up, your legs are splayed out all over the place, and it doesn't have the same thing. It doesn't have the same effect. So we run into those problems. But there's also the fact that, and this is where we're sort of going onto the internet, which is a bad idea all the time. Going online, trying to find out, okay, well, what can we do? And I just sort of ran into a whole slew of other problems that I hadn't thought of when it comes to a gym. And this is where I'm saying, it might be discouraging, and I don't mean it to be, but we need to address stuff like this. And until it's sort of brought to your attention, you think, you know what, I never even thought of that. Of course, that's going to be a hindrance as well. and it's mainly the size. Now, I mean, when at my, even now, there's still stuff I can't fit into. I can fit into my office chair. I can finally really do that, and my sides don't touch it, which is a big milestone for me. But when you look at gym equipment, it's not designed for 300-pound people in mind. It's designed for people that are pretty much either average or already in shape size. And it didn't occur to me until I started reading through this, and you saw, entries from different people, and they're saying, I would start doing the weightlifting thing, but the bench is this wide. It's when the bench is a foot wide, it's really difficult to try to, get positioned on it properly. People are saying, well, try a recumbent bike. Well, I've had a recumbent bike. That's when I first started. Before I got the treadmill, I had a recumbent bike because it was like $100. And I thought, oh, this will be the time I'm going to start doing it. And I did. I used it for a while. But at 300 pounds, your ass is about 5 times the size of the seat. And because I didn't want to get one of those little pointy seats that they look so painful because I'm going to swallow the seat. I don't care. It's just, so this was a flat seat. It was probably about that big. Probably a foot wide, maybe a foot long, I guess. And obviously I'm not going to fit on that. Even now, I probably wouldn't be able to. But, you sort of make do, and there were little things I could hang on to, so I wasn't tipping all over the place. But the sheer size it's a hurdle that we have to get over. Because the machines that are, that we're trying to use to get into shape, they aren't designed for us. And I understand, they aren't going to say, okay, well, this machine is just designed for people that, are wider than normal. But it was something that I hadn't thought of. And part of that is because, of course, obviously, I don't join a gym. I don't go to one. Why would I? Because I'm just thinking, no, it's paranoid. People are going to stare and point and laugh. But almost all the machines that people were saying, like even trying to get on to like an elliptical, it's difficult because it's not designed for fat people. It's designed for people that want to use an elliptical or that are using it. Every little thing. So I started looking at different things that there are little foot pedalers that you can buy, which are essentially it's a recumbent bike, but it's just the pedal part. You stick it under your desk and you can use it that way. I thought that wouldn't be too bad. I don't know how much they are. You can probably buy one on eBay or Amazon or something. So I thought, that's not bad. If you're sitting at home, no one's staring at you, things are fine. You can go that way. So I started looking at all these different things. And then I found an article. And this is where things went south. Because I'm looking at this article because I'm trying to find, these are things that are helping, at the very least saying, these are some of the problems that we run into being obese that even to us, we don't think of because it's not right there. That might be sort of part of the reason why when we go, we have such a hard time of it, aside from that, paranoia, that nothing fits. We have a hard enough time with our clothes not fitting. And when you go to try to better yourself and the machines don't fit, it's really discouraging. There aren't many feelings that are worse than not being able to fit into something. And I've run into this many, many times, even a chair. Like when you look at it and go, am I going to be able to fit on that? And if I do fit, you worry, like that creaking noise, is that good? I can't imagine it's ever going to be good. So anyway, I found an blog sort of thing, where it just said, an open letter to the obese people at a gym. And I should know better. I really should know better. And it starts out with just, long story short, some asshole basically saying, why are you here? You're not doing any good. The same argument that we've always heard was just stop eating. Or in this case, the shovel. Ha ha ha, put down the shovel. Yeah, you're fucking hilarious. And I understand that there's a part of us that wants to go, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. No. You know what? When shit like this happens, dignify it with a resounding, go fuck yourself. I think that's what we need to start doing. Because this is obviously just another idiot who just has no clue what he's talking about. And of course, prefaces it like everybody else. Oh, it's satire. I'm just trying to be funny. No, you're just trying to be a dick. Anyway, so he goes through all the other stuff, and basically the main focus was, why are you trying to do sit-ups? Working on your core is going to do nothing for you. You need to lose the weight first and everything else. And if it wasn't 5 years old, I would have responded. But people have been responding nonstop, right up until last year anyway. Really, really, really wanted to respond to it. Because, and this is why I say, it's discouraging because you think, I'm here, I'm paying the same amount that you are. You have proof. I'm trying to better myself. Staring at someone and going, well, that's not going to do you any fucking good. Your core is useless to you right now. You're too fat. I'm doing a sit-up. It is better than me sitting at home doing nothing. It's better than me standing in one spot and doing nothing. I'm doing something, and you have proof. I'm trying to better myself. If you have a problem with it, fuck off. And we run into this so many times, and I think that's a huge part of not wanting to go to a gym as well. Because not necessarily that it's going to happen, but that fear that it's going to happen. And in our head, when we see other people looking at us, there may be people that are like, that will look at us and go, you know what? Good for you. Like, it's fucking tough getting going. And if for anyone that's been obese, they'll know what it's like. But I don't know. It's hard enough to sort of get yourself, pumped up and get that courage to go out and do something like that. And to have that, come back at you is just, this is why we stay the way that we are. And of course, the comments throughout the majority of them, I didn't see one that was one that was supportive, but it was probably another 10-year-old jackass. Almost every single one of them was, you have no idea what you're talking about. And there was, people that are saying, this didn't make me want to go to the gym. This made me want to eat. All the same arguments that we've always had. And all I can say is, I really sincerely hope that whoever wrote that, and people like that, we've run into a couple of them so far, people that write stuff like this and people that have that attitude of, well, what the hell are you doing here? You don't deserve to be here because you're too fat. I sincerely, from the heart of my bottom, really hope that their entire family dies in a house fire and they just lose it all. And just so that there is at least some semblance of justice. And they get to a point where they just can't take it anymore. And they're grief-stricken for months. And it gets to a point it starts affecting their job. They lose their job. They end up not being able to pay their bills. So, of course, they end up on the street. And, of course, they lose absolutely everything. And they start hitting rock bottom. And they end up going in the alleyway and giving homeless guys hand jobs for crack so that they can just bury all the pain that they've gone through. And finally get to a stage where they just think, this is enough. Enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. Really understanding what it's like to hit that rock bottom moment. And they go, I'm going to turn myself around. I need to do this. I need to do something to get out of the rut that I'm in. And they clean themselves up and they strive really hard and they try to get back on their feet. And the only place that they can find is just some way out of the way little rehab farm place somewhere that they can go and they just sort of like work on the farm, and that's how they earn their pay. They work on the farm, it pays for their meals, it pays for a place for them to sleep, and they start coming back to sort of the real world and going, you know what, I'm starting to deal with this. And of course, then they have to deal with the loss of their family again. And the only thing that really gives them any solace is the fact that they can go and they can feed the animals, and they have that as part of their chores. They've done the laundry, they've done the house cleaning, and they're sort of graduating on now because the people have said, you know what, you're working hard, you're doing better, we can trust you with something else. And maybe that bond is going to help you get back to where you need to be so that you can make some sort of connection. And nothing works because it's just really barnyard animals and chickens and, pigs and stuff like that. And of course he starts taking care of stuff in the barn, and that's when he meets his little horse friend, and they start sort of, he makes a bit of a connection there because the horse has been, it's an old race horse, and it doesn't like people going near it because it's had a rough lifestyle. And, it had a broken leg before, and they were going to kill it, and this farm has saved it. So he sort of makes that connection going, you know what, we both have that damage somewhere inside. And he starts taking care of the horse, and he starts feeding it every day, and he starts talking to it. And it's the only he doesn't really do well with the group therapy or the one-on-one things. So he's just talking with the horse, and that's when he finally makes that connection. That first living being he can make that connection with in such a long time. It's been just like since his family has died, and he's lost everything. And here's one thing that doesn't judge. It just sits there and it listens. And so as he starts, going back day after day and spending more time with it, and he starts bonding with it in a way that he never really has with pets or the other animals on the farm. And as he's the only one that it starts letting go near him, and so he can start brushing it more and helping it heal on its own the same way that he's healing. And so they get together, and one day he goes in and The horse is sort of outside the barn. They finally started to let it out because it's not bolting anymore. It's not panicking. It's not kicking around and everything. And he's able to brush it outside for the first time. And it's nice weather, so everything's just nice and calm. And it sort of turns around and he presents itself, and he's behind the horse. And he thinks, is this the final moment? Is this something that's is it going to let me ride the horse? And it does. It lets him ride it. And it's for the first time this horse hasn't let anyone even near it in months. And because of that one-on-one connection that he's made with this animal, they're finally able to ride and ride and ride, and they go around the compound, and he finally sort of lets loose. And this one living creature that he's been able to make that connection with, this is what's done it for him. This sort of started to pull him out of this funk that he's been in. And of course, the horse has that old injury, and they find out, no, it can't keep going this way. You can't do this anymore. And the horse gets sick, and he thinks, I can't do this again. I can't go through all this again. And so they find out, no, it has horse cancer. It's not going to last. So he says, you know what? No, we aren't putting this horse down. This is the one creature that I have a connection with. So they go, and he says, I need to find out what we can do to help this, to heal this horse, and do whatever we need to do. And so he goes, and he gets another job, and he finally starts working again, going out in the real world and dealing with people. And the one thing on his mind is, I have this bond with this creature. It's the only living creature in the world right now that I care about. This is the one that I need to do something for it. And he spends every penny that he makes, and he ends up, again, losing everything that he has because he's put so much money into this, and so much of his time and his blood and sweat and tears and every other cliche you can think of to make sure that this horse makes it through. And so the last day, he's lost everything, but it's a different kind of loss where he understands he's doing this for a better reason. And so he goes, he takes care of everything, and it's months and months of just therapy and operations and medicines and all these other things. And he's done research, and he's looked into this, and he's working with the vets. And he finally, after months of going through this, finally they release the horse. And he goes back out to see it, and it's not the same. It's been too long since they've sort of made that connection where they've had that ride. But as he approaches the horse, it stops, and there's that little faint glimmer of recognition. And he turns around, and the horse stops, and it turns, and it presents itself, and he's thinking, I can do this again. And as he approaches the horse to get on it, the horse goes, fuck you, and kicks him in the throat. I really hope that happens, because that's what these people sort of deserve. A little bit. I really hope that happens. Anyway, it's been a while since I told a story anyway, so I think that's a good one. And we're going to end it on that. So, people like that just, gah. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And, I really hope that at some point, somewhere, that these people get their comeuppance. Because they're assholes. And they not dignify it with the response directly, but we can tell a story of the deal. Anyway, I just thought I would end this on a high note. So, on that, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.